we got to get into topic number 2. Now, I'm going first here to Korkenstein. And this is, again, folks, one of the reasons why I love having such professionals on the panel that we have here today for you, because they're all professionals in their own way. They can run their own shows. And this is an open-ended conversation. Phil Spencer, if you did not know or missed the opening of the show, did another interview with Variety on April 15th. And the reason why we're talking about it isn't because of what he was there for. He was there to talk about the success of the Minecraft movie, which is projected to hit $1 billion. Okay? Has been made famous or infamous, if you will, through the chicken jockey situation, which my nephew right here just runs around the house, keeps saying. He loves it, right? So, chicken jockey, popular, right? It has exploded on the scene. You have people bringing real chickens to the theaters. Don't do that, folks. Please don't bring the real chickens to the theaters. Don't throw popcorn on people just watching it with their families. Don't do that either. But this actually happened. He was originally there to talk about what they're going to do moving forward through film, right? And through TV. And Microsoft has Gears of War in production at Netflix. Halo was just picked up by Netflix. So they're going to be running that. Supposedly they're working on a season 3. There's a lot coming. Obviously Fallout season 2, Fallout season 1 was exploded for Amazon. So you're going to see more IPs get there. That's what he originally was there for. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Quite frankly, that's boring, right? We're here to talk about the finite points that he did talk about. And there were 4, right? There were 4 that I have in front of me. I've already sent the notes. So, of course, when I say open-ended, the panel is going to attack this from wherever interests them first. But Hazardor Gaming, as he's done many times before, put out an amazing tweet. And it has 4 points of context for what Phil Spencer had to talk about. And it says, new interview with Phil Spencer on Microsoft's gaming business. And these are the 4 finite points I was talking about. Committed to developing new IP. Game Pass as a healthy option for consumers. A big believer in Nintendo Switch 2 and what they're going to do as a partner with Nintendo. That's huge. And this is another one, big one for me, more unannounced games. And he followed that up by saying some stuff that's unannounced, and I'm working in my own head to make sure that he doesn't leak anything by accident. And Phil's a gamer. He's like us. He's excited. He wants to talk about stuff. He leaks stuff all the time, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. Korkenstein, I think that there were so many amazing points, positive points of view that Phil Spencer talked about. Let's get the ones that you thought were important.
I think the big unannounced games is probably a pretty big one that is definitely getting me excited. You got to think they have, June is pretty much a month and a half away for them. They probably already have their slate locked down for what's coming. And they, so he's already probably seen the call sheet or whatever it is for it. He already knows exactly what they're going to be announcing, probably the showcase lineup, because they got to have the trailers if they're going to do any live demo kind of thing. Not live since it's digital only, but you know what I mean, like if they're going to have somebody play the games and stuff. So I mean, we've already known that's coming. I think that's a really, really good point. To kind of segue into the new IPs, for that, committed to developing new IPs. I want to kind of read something that he talked about real quick. Oh, dang it. I hit my mouse scroll up button in it. And this is where I'm excited of where they're coming from for new IPs, because it seems like this is the same kind of mentality that they have for the movies that they're coming out with. He said, is there a Microsoft IP that you think shouldn't be adapted, or is it more anything could be? It's just about how it's done. Do you try to do Warcraft again? Would you never do Call of Duty? Are there things that you wouldn't touch or you could, but it needs to be done a certain way? And Phil responds, the video game business is successful by itself. It doesn't need this outlet. He's 100% right. You've got to start with a partner who understands our team and the story of that IP, and then letting
Yes.
them work through the process. That's my only barrier. Let's never turn this into something where it has to get done. Every franchise has to have a game or movie or TV show, and it becomes more like licensing. It's got to be more about, or it's got to be about the creative outlet that linear media offers for our franchises. And that's the same thing, like I said, with some of these unannounced titles, and how they're approaching these new IPs. I mean, I know we're banjo bros, but basically, I mean, this is kind of what he's saying on maybe why we haven't seen a banjo, or why they don't want to turn this into where it's a rinse and repeat, to where they're doing it purely because they're looking to cash grab. And that's such a healthy thing for us, especially as fans of certain things. I wouldn't want them to just, oh, everyone's asking for banjo, let's just give it to this studio. And they're like, well, we're a new studio. There's probably even younger devs, like, who's banjo? And now they're developing banjo, and they have no idea what the IP is, what it's about, what's its essence. They're having to do all this research, and it's just not there. So in regards to those, they kind of go hand in hand, and I'm happy. It's not like, I mean, Last of Us is very successful, don't get me wrong. The TV show's doing very well, but you definitely know that, it kind of probably turned into the board meeting rooms, how can we stretch this for 4 seasons, or 5 seasons, or, and then, it's turning into like a Game of Thrones where the books aren't even done. So they're just going to kind of phone it in, for like the last few seasons. It's, you start to turn it into that. And then now something that was such a passion for people is being ruined. And I really, really like that Xbox is saying, no, we're not going to do that. Let's take a step back. Let's do stuff that people are actually passionate about, people that actually understand the material, and can create something fun. And that's great. And that's something he's been saying for years, even before this, to where he doesn't want to just force things. I think it was he did the interview, I think, in like 2022, I think it was. And yeah, I mean, he basically has been saying this is the messaging. So kudos to them. I really hope, I'm excited to see what they have, because it's coming from a place of genuine love and passion for those IPs.
Yeah, I mean, look, if there's one thing that you can take away from Phil Spencer still being the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, now how long he remains in that position before considering retirement is both concerning and, of course, exciting, because as with Phil in that spot, you made a one word mention here: passion. He understands the business. He started with Microsoft 30 years ago as an intern, right? He's been started out with a no pay intern, and now he's running the company. That's the guy you want running the company. He's one of us, folks. He is literally one of us. He's a gamer. He has more time in Vampire Survivors, one of my favorite games of the past decade, than I even do. And I play it almost at least once or twice a week because I love that game. And they just got new DLC, free DLC, by the way. So Ponicle, wherever you are, I want to see this person, man. I want to give him a hug and a $20, $20. Boom, here you go. Just put this into the coffers. Make some more content. But having Phil in charge is a big deal, because he is ultimately going to be the one to make the decisions on not gouging the audience, but putting things out that he knows that we really want through passion. That's a great point of view. So again, this is open-ended conversation, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the things that I love about having professionals like this on the panel, that we can get into it, we can talk. So before I hand the mic over to Silent Cypher, the one thing that I kind of really wanted to be pointed about here, and this, not aggravated or annoyed or mad. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in a lot of the games media for running with this Xbox boss says you don't need Game Pass. That's not actually what he said. I have his quote right in front of me. I am going to read it verbatim. And again, because we don't do the names things, because we're not looking to embarrass anybody. We're not. I understand the business of journalism. I understand you got to get clicks in. I would have come at it from a different angle, but every one of them that I did read that was bad, you just the nature of the way it was written, just the title was written was to get the click. And again, folks, I'm not a boob. I understand that it is a business. People have to pay the journalists to be there, so they need people to click on their websites. But I think that out of everything that he said during this variety interview that was strictly meant to be only about what they're doing in film and transmedia, right? That's what it was originally about. It became a gaming conversation, as it probably should have. And one of the things that he stressed was about Game Pass not being a business model for everyone. And I'm going to read verbatim. And this is where, again, I don't want to use the word annoyed, more so disappointed, especially some of the journalists that I really consider tip of spear ran with this as well. And it's a bit disappointing. So this is what Phil had to say. For me, I look at Game Pass as a healthy option for certain people. It is not for everyone. If you play 1 or 2 games a year, Game Pass probably isn't the right business model for you. You should just buy those 2 games. And that would make total sense. End quote. That is incredibly different than many of the game journalists that I consider tip of spear used. And I think that's gross. And I think that, again, go back to the article, read it for yourself. I read the article twice, ladies and gentlemen. And there are so many incredible key points that as an Xbox fan, you should be running around your house excited. New IPs are coming. That means that games that, you didn't know that they were going to make, they're going to surprise you with it, right? There are a bunch of unannounced games coming this year, second half of the year, folks, that are going to be announced in June, right? Could that be Clockwork Revolution? Sure. Could that be the Fallout 3 remake that's like the Oblivion remake that they're calling a remaster that really isn't a remaster? Really weird there. But there could be others. How is that not celebrated? How is that not the lead title for your article? I know why. Because negativity sells. You said it earlier in the green room, Silent Cipher. If it bleeds, people read, right? That's just the way it is, and it's very unfortunate. That's my spiel. Let's bring in Silent Cipher. There were a lot of really good points here. I'm interested to get your thoughts.
Right. Well, yeah. First off, great article that they ended up having. I feel like they dove into a lot of detail, which was nice. I agree with you fully. There's a lot of disingenuous takes out there right now because they want the attention, they want that clickbait, and that's what we've discovered over the last couple of years or whatever is like that's what everyone's trying to target nowadays. I guess not everyone, but the majority of them. They want to throw something out there that gets the attention, whether it's legit or not. I mean, you see it all the time. If you go in and you click on Google and it brings up like your 8 or 9 topic daily brief or whatever and tells you what's coming, almost every single one, when you look at it, the title doesn't have anything to do with the actual topic, or it sends you in a completely different direction just so you click it, and then you get in there and you're like, oh, it was as you would say, the banana in the tailpipe. And that's common nowadays. It sucks. I'm not happy that that's the case, and I would hope that folks that we know and that we've been in this ecosystem with, I would hope that they would do better. I would hope that they had a more balanced moral compass when it came to these things. Like if you got to pay the bills with lies, you go ahead and do what you need to do. But personally, I don't sleep well with that. And if I were in that situation, I would be finding something else to maybe do. If that's an issue where you have to put your morals aside. But that's just me. In regards to this article, there are a few things that I did want to touch on, and of course, Korkenstein's already mentioned it, and you've mentioned it as well. But one of the key takeaways that I have from this is obviously games first, media second, right? That's something that I take from this that I'm happy to see is like obviously they're having success in the film side of things, in movies, TV. It's working out for them. Obviously, not everything is going to be hit, and Phil even acknowledges this in the article. He states, like, hey, Halo didn't work, right? Like it got canceled. It didn't go the way we were hoping necessarily, but that's allowed us to maybe be more cautious and make sure everything is fully baked before we kick it out. You look at something like Fallout, you look at the success of Minecraft at this point in time, they are learning from these mistakes. They're actively learning when it comes to their console and comes to the games and stuff too. I feel like whether people liked it or not, whether it was received well or not by most people, Redfall was a good example of a situation where something got kicked out because they wanted to meet a deadline. It shouldn't have been released at the time it was. It was a regret. That team suffered for it, and realistically, it could have been avoided. And I feel like that's the same thing as this Halo situation. Is the TV series could have been better. They could have gone a different direction with it, but they didn't have the right partner. They pushed it out at a time that they didn't really need it. So I'm glad to see that he is realigning some of those moves or looking for the right partners for the projects. Again, he highlights the fact that not every franchise will be adapted. He stresses that alignment with that creative partner makes the most sense. That's where you want to put your focus in. So that relieves me as a fan of these different IPs and franchises because I don't want to see them release something crappy. It's like there have been a lot of games that got a movie, and I was like, why did you do this? Like the Uwe Boll films of the day, right? I didn't need a Postal movie from that guy. I didn't need a Far Cry movie. I didn't need a Blood Rain movie from that guy. He took the IP and just kind of dumped on it. Like he took a giant dump on those franchises. And it sucked to see because those franchises didn't deserve it. So it definitely goes to what he's saying, like find the right partner, align it accordingly, give them the time. Give them the time to cook. Let them do what they need to do. Another thing for me, as you mentioned, so obviously going back to your conversation about people mischaracterizing what Phil was saying about Game Pass. Yes, like you don't have to have Game Pass. Game Pass is one of the many models that Microsoft is targeting. There's many ways for them to grow this platform moving forward. We've seen it with the cloud streaming. We've seen it with collaborating with other system creators, right? Like Nintendo and Microsoft seem to have a pretty good relationship. I'll be very curious how this generation plays out, but neither here nor there. They're still going to try and get their stuff on that platform. The hardware is in a better spot than it was previously. And so they can get some of these games that are more current gen. They can get them there, whether there'll be caveats or whatever. They can make it work. They can offer it as just a streaming item, as some other games have done on the previous Switch. Or if the game can play it there, they can just drop down resolution or modify it accordingly. But that's another target that they're doing is you're seeing Xbox games on PlayStation and Nintendo and PC. They're trying to get to that 3 billion gamer mark. And this allows them to do that. They're expanding their portfolio and they're diversifying how you can access their content. And they're learning from previous times. Like I know back in the day, we were all very keen on like, oh, walled garden, I want this exclusive on my system, blah, blah, blah. The way the market is nowadays, it's not the same. and you can't play it the same way. You can't approach it the same way because budgets are so high for these games. You have to try and figure out a way to get your ROI, your return on investment. And so how do you do that? You make it available to as many people as possible. That means putting it on that mobile screen, having Call of Duty on your mobile, having stuff on Nintendo, PlayStation, like wherever they can put it, they're going to put it because they want to make the money back so they can continue to sustain the business and make sure that they can actually live into the future and keep delivering stuff for the consumer. Make no cuts about it. Like, obviously it's a business, and if something's not working, they're going to cut it. He mentioned, like I said, adding it to the Switch 2, bringing it to these other systems and stuff. Like, they're going to try it. It might not be new IPs that go out of the actual Xbox ecosystem to start off with, but getting some of those old IPs, those well-known IPs out there, like we've talked about, stuff like Gears, come into PlayStation. If that happens, it makes sense. Why do you do it? To bring more attention when the new Gears of War comes out. It's all a strategy to try and support those IPs into the future. And then they can say, hey, you like this, you like these games and stuff, come check out what we're cooking over here in the Xbox ecosystem. And then they can pull people back to that ecosystem, be it Game Pass, be it whatever. Because even though the articles were out there saying Game Pass isn't needed, Game Pass is needed. There's a lot of users. There's a lot of people in that ecosystem. I think I've probably covered most. The IP strategy thing. One of the things I liked about that was the fact that, so of course he emphasized not every IP is going to work as a movie and a game. They're going to test things out. They're going to make sure that certain things fit. I don't know about you guys, but I don't need a Guitar Hero movie.
I don't think I need that, but I do need a new Guitar Hero. Let's be clear.
Exactly. And he's receptive of the fact that, like, hey, there are certain things that are going to fit with our goals. Doing a movie of Guitar Hero, I'm sure, is not one of them. But to bring out one of those games, how long has it been since we had a last Guitar Hero? That was what, 2012?
Oh, dude, it's been a minute, bro. Yeah.
It's been a minute. So if you put that out there, that's got attention that's going to draw a lot of people back in. It's got that nostalgia factor for us guys who grew up in the 360 era and really enjoyed that era. That brings us right back in. So I think that's smart. I hope that they continue to approach it in the same way, as like, make sure that you're just focusing on IPs that make sense. Get creative with it. Let studios do some stuff. We would have never seen South of Midnight had they not given that studio the opportunity to just do their thing. And that's a great little game. Like, the visual styles, the story narrative, everything about it has personality. It's got character. And it's really enjoyable to play through because they gave them the opportunity, they gave them the resources, and they just let them do their thing. And I think that's one of the key takeaways from this article for me, is just, he's recognized that the teams need to be able to work what they want to work, do what they want to do creatively with it. Don't be forced into, like, oh, hey, you got to make Call of Duty 40, whatever the next one's going to be at this point. Like, he'll have studios go in there, do some stuff, bring some new ideas, new IPs out there, while also supporting those key pillars. So I think that's a good thing. If anything, I'm just pleased with where it seems like his head's at with it, and where the business seems to be following through right now.
Yeah, great points all around. We had a point here from, let me see if I could find it. Where was it? It was really good. Oh man, the chat is flying. Hold on a sec. I got to find it. It was really good. It was, who was it? Slim Reaper. Slim Reaper, welcome to the channel, brother. Great to have you here in the chat. He says, but he would be down for a Guitar Hero anime. Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna front. I'll be
not for me, but
okay,
if it's got
right,
an audience, then fine.
Not for everybody.
If it's got an audience, then cool.
I'd be down with that. Listen, you know, again, there really is a lot to take away from this article that I think is positive. Not just positive for Xbox as a corporation. I think everything Phil had to say, he was talking to you and me. He was talking to us. New IPs matter. Great. Check. Boom. Right? Game Pass matters. Not for everyone, but it's a model that we're going to keep pushing because it's not the only model. Check. That means Game Pass isn't going away. You know, games going to other consoles, us old men, us old timers, we still wouldn't sign off on it, but we understand that it's a part of business. And when everyone else is raising their prices, they're making Game Pass affordable for the common person in a way that I'll put it this way. When you look at the market, again, folks, let's pull a steel rain and do the, RTS view, as he likes to say, right? Look at the market. The market is so volatile right now, right? It could explode at any minute. Prices are going up, right? Console prices are not what they need to be. 10 years ago, in the fifth year of a console, you would get a price reduction. No, you got a $50 price increase for the PlayStation 5 Slim. Like that's the world we're living in. And somehow, even though Nintendo was charging $80 and $90 for games, there's a service called Game Pass that you can get even at the $20 a month is ridiculous. Right? So the fact that he's self-aware of that is big for us. It's, again, could they raise their price at any time? Sure. But right now, it's still $20. Right now, you got South of Midnight, you got Doom, you got Avowed, you got that Blue something game, the best, apparently, according to Paris, who's in the chat, shout out to him, could be his game of the year. It's a puzzler. I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet. That's in Game Pass day and date. You have so many freaking games in this service that are just dropping to the point where there are people in the community be like, you know what, Xbox, you just got to stop. I can't keep up with it. It's just freaking too many games right now. That's crazy, right? Fuzzy Belvedere, let's bring you in, and then we'll get to the few other super chats we got here, and then we'll get everyone out of here. I want to get your thoughts and your theories on the big interview from Variety with Phil Spencer. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, the big thing is I like the calculated approach that they have when it comes to the transmedia stuff, as far as whether it's TV series or movies and the gaming space, and how they push forward with that. Like they've learned a little bit with Halo. I'm hearing, I guess it's now picked up by Netflix. Would have been nice if it was picked up by Amazon, considering how well Fallout's doing, and it seems like Amazon is that streaming service willing to spend a little bit more for the long term. Netflix will spend some money as well, but it's almost like they have this built-in curse for 3 seasons with very few exceptions kind of deal. But all in all, I like how they're approaching it. They're making it where, and it doesn't have to be timed 1 for 1, but they did learn that there is more of an urgency for a Fallout game, considering how well the TV series did. So they'll probably make better efforts moving forward when they do make a big series about a huge franchise, that either an upcoming game or updates to that existing game are ready within a reasonable amount of time, should the show be successful. And I guess the other big thing, they're also making sure on new IP to not, jump with both feet in for TV series, kind of like, and I hate bringing it up, with Concord, where they had, I guess, that certain level.
The thing on Amazon, yeah. They had the animated, yeah.
Yeah, so they got to be careful on how much time and resources are invested into that stuff, and finding, like you guys said earlier, the right partners for those ventures and things. But when it comes to Game Pass and their first party, I think the big thing now is sure, Game Pass isn't for everyone. Not every game is for everyone as far as that's concerned as well, but they do offer a wide variety of things, not just in their own ecosystem, but on other platforms as well, making it so they have income coming from multiple sources. And I think Microsoft is best at doing something along those lines, both on the software and hardware and ecosystem setup. So that way, well, let's say having the games on multiple platforms, well, that is extra income that they can put towards the devs or put towards whatever other investments they want to. But it seems to be filtering more so to the studios for either sequels, updates, continued support and content, or just, you know, the day-to-day operational stuff. And then with Game Pass, you have that recurring income that you can pretty much count on at least about 70% of it on a monthly basis. And then you'll probably have some swings up and down as far as, you know, new subscribers or ones that cancel. But you have that like pretty much guaranteed income that you can always look forward to or kind of count on, provided that you're still putting content into that service, which you can then reinvest in getting more content. Like I think the rumor was they spend between 1 and 2 billion to, you know, put towards like third-party developers getting into the service for day and date stuff, as well as other bigger games. Like we've seen things like Grand Theft Auto 5 come back to the service. I think this is like its third time, and now it's also on PC. So, and it's the enhanced version, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of, you know, things that they're doing to make that service worthwhile. A great value for us as far as gamers, but it also becomes that you know, reoccurring income for them. So they're going to make sure that's sustainable and strong. Much like I know people like to debate on if it's sustainable, but we're I think it was 2017-ish when Game Pass first started, or it was like shortly after the Xbox One X, and it's still going strong. So I would say it's sustainable enough that they haven't, you know, drastically hindered it like they did things like with what was that, Mixer and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I would have to believe it's got to be you know, successful or sustainable enough for them to continue it this far. And considering how many studios they own and how much like how many teams they have working on different projects, that's just going to continue to feed that monster. And I guess the big thing, although it seems like they're always under the microscope whenever they have layoffs as opposed to other sources having layoffs, but they've been probably the better considering how many teams they have and how many things they have in the oven. Sure, there are some that we probably never heard of that probably got canceled before, you know, a code name was created for it, type of thing. But in the grand scheme of things, they're trying their best to keep this gaming division and gaming in general, you know, going and not letting it get to the point where, you know, this variable pricing gets out of hand, or, you know, it becomes this elite hobby. Right now, having things like Game Pass, having it where, you know, they have the Series S, and also being able to have their games on platforms or hardware that you may already own, whether it be your phone, your laptop, or a tablet, I think is the best way to kind of keep this hobby from becoming that elitist, you know, type of hobby where, you can't spend a thousand on a piece of hardware. Well, find another hobby, take up knitting or something like that. Like we're far from that at this point, although, you know, the market could change tomorrow, but in the grand scheme of things, it looks like they're doing their best. So Phil's trying to keep, you know, Microsoft and Xbox on the you know, the pulse of gaming in general, and making sure that everything is kind of covered for them to maintain, as well as keep gamers happy so they continue having customers that are willing to spend money with them. And that's all I got.